Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this exciting publication titled Wing Tag Severely Impair Movement in African Cape Vultures in collaboration with the Max Planck Institute. The rapid development of tracking technologies allows us to finally answer long-standing hypotheses about animal behavior while providing a fertile environment to tackle novel research questions. Researchers are aware that tagging devices might affect the behavior and the survival of animals, and more studies are suggesting solutions to minimize their effects, despite these being difficult to estimate and account for when interpreting results. Several studies have shown that the behavior of birds can be affected by the attached devices. However, the details and spatial coverage of these data and the fact that they can be collected remotely from wild free-ranging animals are unprecedented and impossible to achieve using direct observations. Therefore, the use of biologging, especially tracking technology, is fundamental for the study of animal movement and pivotal to the ecology and conservation research. Like the study by Spencer et al. Showing this novel spatial movement of ivory gulls. Devices attached to birds were also shown to negatively influence reproduction, nesting, parental care, and survival, reduce flight speed, and increase energy expenditure. These behavioral changes can not only have a negative impact on the reproduction and survival of animals, but also bias our understanding on animal behavior. So far, there has been little or no research on how tagging methods affect the movement metrics that we collect and analyze, and on which we base our understanding of the behavior in a population. Although these effects of devices on animals are difficult to measure, we need to increase our efforts towards quantifying and understanding them. Patagial tags have been extensively used as markers in the last decades and have played an important role in behavioral studies for large raptors and especially vultures. However, several studies confirmed adverse effects of patagial tags related to behavior, nesting success, and survival. Studies on vultures suggest that patagial tags might affect the aerodynamics of flight by impacting lift, which could negatively affect the energetic cost of flight. Most of the vulture populations currently studied are endangered and in dire need of informed conservation actions. Hence, studying their movement while finding a least invasive tagging technique to study their behavior has become a priority. Researchers recently introduced leg bands as an alternative to patagial tags for individual identification. The study aimed to investigate the effects of tag attachment in wild and captive bred individuals on the flight probability, proportion of time spent flying, cumulative distance traveled, and flight speed in the endemic Cape vulture. Now that we have a better understanding why this study is of importance, let's go through the materials and methods. A total of 27 Cape vultures were tracked between 2015 and 2019. Of the 27 tracked birds, 13 were females and 14 were males. Of the 27 tracked birds, 13 were captive bred and 14 wild individuals. Of the 27 tracked birds, 13 were fitted with leg bands and 15 were fitted with patagial tags. Now the amount doesn't make sense, but that is because one individual had a patagial tag at first and was changed to a leg band later on. We use third generation GPS and GSM wildlife telemetry systems from cellular tracking technologies. Individuals equipped with different tag attachments showed clear differences in the area they covered during the tracking period, as shown in the figure. Turquoise represent captive bred birds fitted with Patagial tags, dark blue represent wild birds fitted with Patagial tags, orange represent wild birds fitted with leg bands, and yellow represent captive bred birds fitted with leg bands. While smaller area covered by Patagial groups is in line with our results, there is no obvious hypothesis behind the difference in movement direction observed between groups. However, we could speculate that an interplay of different environmental conditions, such as food resources, played a huge role. Scavengers play an important role in the ecosystem thanks to the services they provide, such as preventing the spread of diseases, recycling organic material into nutrients, and stabilizing food webs. Therefore, a restricted flight potential and reduction in the area they covered by these birds caused by improper tag attachment can have far-reaching consequences at the ecosystem level. The proportion of days in which no flight was recorded was higher for individuals fitted with Patagial tags compared to those fitted with leg bands. When we look closer at a finer scale, we can see that captive bred birds with Patagial tags flew less than captive bred birds fitted with leg bands, and the same trend was observed in wild birds. The daily proportion of time spent flying did not differ significantly between individuals fitted with Patagial tags compared to leg bands, as well as between captive bred birds and wild birds. Both captive bred and wild individuals equipped with Patagial tags travel significantly shorter distances compared to individuals equipped with leg bands. Lastly, captive bred and wild individuals equipped with Patagial tags reach significantly lower flight speed compared to wild individuals wearing leg bands. During the study, one captive bred vulture, originally released with a Patagial tag, was found grounded, whereupon its Patagial tag was replaced with a leg band. After the tag replacement, we detect an increase in the flight parameters of this individual. Previous studies suggested that in vultures, the device attached to the wing can influence the aerodynamics of flight, while to our knowledge no negative effects on flight performance have been reported for devices attached to the leg. We also presume that Patagial tags affect different flight behaviors. Patagial tags may induce a loss of lift by increasing drag, and this forces the birds to increase the airspeed to remain aloft and therefore spend more energy. So to conclude, more research is needed to fully understand the consequences of different tagging methods on vultures as well as any other raptors, including their direct effects on body condition, reproduction, and survival. Nonetheless, we urgently recommend using leg bands instead of Patagial tags. Researchers need to balance the benefit of data acquired by tracking animals with adverse consequences on the animal's health and the potential bias on the scientific results. Comparisons at different spatial and temporal scales are therefore an important part of our field of research, but these comparisons risk to become meaningless if we choose to ignore the biases due to how we measure the phenomena we observe. Thank you for listening to the presentation, and I just want to conclude with saying a special thanks to all our funders and donors for the work that we're doing at Vulpro. Without them, it would have not been possible to protect these endangered African vultures.